Good Wednesday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about cars and trucks and SUVs and motorcycles and dogs and barns. And hey, good morning there. Happy Wednesday morning. Yeah, middle of the week, right? Yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning to my channel and appreciate all the support. Good to see ya. And wow, just the never-ending conversations, right? I just love to talk and share my ideas and views and thoughts. And for me today, what is today's conversation? Is my property. And I thought to myself, wow, look at all the debt, D-E-B-T, I have in my life. Look at that truck. What's the debt on that? Look at that Jeep Grand Cherokee L. What's the debt on that? Look at the Grand Wagoneer. What's the debt on that? All these vehicles have a debt. Yes, every vehicle here has payments, car payments, insurance payments, property tax payments. The list goes on and on and on. Can you even imagine? If you just start looking at the value, look at the Jeep Grand Cherokee L, 75 grand retail price car. That Tremor truck there, new 84 grand. Grand Wagoneer, new 97,000. That Mustang, new $54,000. The Mojave was $62,000, was discounted. At F450, that's like a $75,000 truck. The Ram truck, that's like a $50,000 truck. The Power Boost, that was an $85,000 vehicle truck. The race truck, that was a $56,000 vehicle truck. The white Ram, that was a $50,000 truck. The Bronco, that's a $100,000 vehicle. The Ford Mustang Mach-E, way over there, that was a $70,000 purchase. The Ford Lightning, that was close to a $100,000 purchase. The Challenger, come on, Pop, let's go. That was a $50,000 purchase. The other Challenger, that was a $90,000 purchase. The Charger Red Eye, that was a close to $90,000 purchase. The Harleys back there, one was 38, other one was 30, other one was like 20. And you don't even see all my other vehicles and toys that are in other places. And I just sold my two GT500s. One was 121. Other one was like 90. And so add that up. Come on, Pops. Where is everybody? Okay, good. Look at this. These are here, tentative and wanting to get in the office just like me. Didn't have to boss them around too much this morning. And so, yeah, so think about me, about the debt load that I have in my life. It's huge. How do I sleep? Those numbers I just shared with you. Come on, get up here. Come on, let's go. Oh, my goodness gracious. Get the coffee. Beautiful weather here. It's not too cold, not too warm. So it really is a nice, beautiful Wednesday morning here. And get my office routine. I'm out in the field a lot. Really in the office here. I gotta get my Monday morning conversation in my work agenda and then get out in the field and ride around in my vehicles and take care of my business. And the kid, unbelievable, next week is the last week of her school. And wow. So for her summer break begins on at the end of next week. So if she's out of school after Wednesday, man, just time. So yeah, so it spurred the debt. It spurred the conversation of me getting some heat in here. It's a little cool in here. What spurred the conversation of the debt at the last second? Just one of those things where I got the knack to talk. Have you noticed? And I just at the last minute thought, hey, why don't I talk about the debt? And the reason that actually really did populate is just I wake up every night at 2 a.m. Then I fall back asleep and I'll wake back up and I just start reading articles and information. And hopefully I'll read something that you didn't read and I can share some information with you that you'll be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I this morning watched the Ice Age TV morning conversation. And I had some information shared with me that, now I'm kind of like, that's pretty cool. I can share that with myself and others. And so What spurred that was the Elon Musk Tesla, and I even did a lot of research on this just to kind of verify what's going on. Tesla, Elon is all out. He's really focused on the Model Y, that SUV crossover type of vehicle that's competing against the Ford Mustang Mach-E and other companies out there that have the crossover vehicle, which is your mix of a car and SUV. That's why they call it a crossover, because it has kind of a car look and an SUV look. So Elon now has the Tesla priced at $46,990 for 2023 Tesla Y base price. It's $750 less than the average selling price today of the overall general market of the car market in that category for a vehicle. So I said, let's just go to Tesla's website and let's build one and price one. So I did, and I priced one out that is similar to my Mach-E GT performance vehicle that retails for $72,000 and change. That vehicle for Tesla is $62,000. And that's actually, if you include the lane assist passing autonomous, or I should say hands-free driving. That's a $6,000 upgrade. So if you buy that Tesla Y model, and it's a performance model that competes exactly against the Mach-E GT performance model, but the Tesla actually has further range. For the record, the Tesla has further range than the Mach-E by maybe close to 100 miles. Yeah. Yes. So, anyways, exactly. I mean, I'm not sure on that. I know that the Model Y non-performance are like 333 mile vehicles, so I could be wrong on that. But the performance side could be 270, so I'm not real sure. I better be careful on that statement, because the Mach-E GT Performance is like a 230 mile range car because it's a performance package. It's all-wheel drive and the bigger tires and wheels. So anyways, you're really at $56,000 for a Model Y Tesla that in so many ways is the Ford Mustang Mach-E. And I thought, wow. So you're talking realistically a $16,000 difference in pricing of you shopping for a electric vehicle that would compete with the Mustang Mach-E. Now keep in mind, if you go to the Mustang Mach-E, the real base model, but at the same time, you kind of go to the base model of the Tesla. It would sit within reason of pricing to a degree. So, but for Ford, the Mustang Mach-E is really getting hammered by Tesla's low pricing marketability. And a lot of people kind of question, with Elon now giving away the profits off these vehicles, making the profits a very slim margin. Oh, get this. I thought my Ford F-150 Stone Metallic that I ordered last year was sold at Coons Sterling Ford. It's not. Wow. So the Ford F-150 Lightning truck that I ordered last year came in December. I tried in Florida to negotiate a deal, and we just couldn't get Ford Motor Credit to buy the deal or anybody else to buy the deal. So I gave up. It was no big deal, but it's still at the dealership. And it's basically an $89,000 truck, $88,900. I was supposed to get the truck, I believe, for like $7,000 less. I think I was paying like 81 or 82 maybe, because they locked in the pricing since I ordered the vehicle. But it's still at Coons Sterling Ford. So that came in December. You're now 5 months. So that's 150 months of sitting on a dealer's lot. Well, the way these floor plans work, at some point, Mr. Coons has to buy that car, because eventually it gets very expensive to borrow money to keep that car in your lot through the floor plan. Like years ago when I was in the tractor and lawn and garden tractor business, they would give you like 6 months, sometimes even up to a year, because it's a different industry, different market, of no interest on floor planning. But then once you crossed X amount of months, you eventually had to start paying interest payments on those vehicles or those items you had in your business, and you had to cross the bridge. You just give the damn thing away, or you got to use your own money and buy the stuff to carry it on your own money without having to pay this ridiculous interest on these vehicles. So for Tesla, here's what's interesting. BYD is Build Your Dream based in China. It's only a China product in the market, meaning it's not coming here to this country anytime soon, but it's over there in China. I guess it's in Europe as well. It's a Warren Buffett, backed company, believe it or not, and they outsold Tesla for the first time. So BYD electric vehicles are now starting to surpass. Well, actually, no, they surpassed Volkswagen. That's what it was. They actually outsold Volkswagen. Tesla still doesn't really have a big footprint in that China market and European market. So I misspoke there. It was Volkswagen. That BYD is growing by leaps and bounds. It's interesting. I hear all these dire circumstances in this domestic market and somewhat in the world market of the car industry slowing down. But then you read these articles on first quarter for BYD, they sold like 500,000 cars. Or 450, but they outsold Volkswagen by, slim margin, but they beat them. And they're growing once again, they're growing fantastically. Even over there in India, there's another company out there, Suzuki. An Indian-owned company that builds Suzuki products, they're growing by leaps and bounds. So it's just such mixed signals when you read all the differences of this stuff, of this country's dire straits of the automotive world, but at the same time, worldwide, you hear all these stories of these electric vehicle startups, but that's a whole other ballgame. As somebody speculated, Elon is trying to really eliminate these new electric startups by giving away their products just to kind of thin the others out. Boy, I tell you, the forced control of marketing and controlling the market. Boy, I think that's dangerous. So here's what's really interesting about this. I just for the heck of it this morning before I walked out here, I thought, what is Tesla worth? Okay, but the next thing I thought, it's the debt. I said to myself, what type of debt does Tesla have? Tesla has $5 billion in debt, but yet they have $22 billion in cash. So technically, they have a net $17 billion of cash flow. The value of Tesla is $504 billion. Okay, take that model and go to Ford. Ford is carrying $134 billion in debt, and they have $32 billion in cash, and their value, I think, is like $47 billion. Okay, so Ford's whole assets to be sold, they would be short, borderline, just throwing numbers out there, $40 to $50 billion, if not more. I'm talking about their cash flow that they have, of not being able to pay everything off. And Ford's been around, for so many years. But yet Tesla, technically, if Tesla was sold off, they're going to have, $500 billion plus dollars paid to the investors in Elon. Wow. And that's just beyond believable. Tesla, who came from just nowhere in the last, we'll just say 15 years, and it's the most, strongest automotive, but once again, people argue it's not an automotive company. Okay, well, it's the strongest transportation computer company in the world. And then you go to BYD. If you start researching all the values of Toyota, GM, Tesla dwarfs all of them. So you have to say to yourself, all right, so Tesla, Elon Musk, he has a lot of playtime to play with other competitors in the EV market because he has so much power with the value of that company. But we all know if that stock that's been anywhere from $160 to $200 here in the last year was to go to a $50 stock, that whole value is going to be worth now $200 billion. But at some point, when do people start evaluating their Tesla stock? and truly believe that Elon Musk can give away cars with borderline no profit margins. That's the claim. And he's going to write off the $15,000 subscription of fully autonomous, safe driving vehicle. I think it's called SDF. I think I saw that yesterday. So Tesla, I think, has branded, I think, SDF, self-driving. Well, no, because that's an F as in vehicle. So I think but it's like SFD or self. I don't know. It's an abbreviation that Elon Musk claims that when I went to build a Tesla Y, it gave me the option, $6,000 option, to have the lane passing assist feature, and I guess call the car to you in a safe environment if you're at a shopping center. I don't know. There's some wording in there. I'm just not a Tesla person, so anybody out there that's a Tesla person, they may weigh in and say, yeah, that car has a capability. If you pay the $6,000 add-on of that upgrade feature, that you can call the car to yourself. You can program the car to pull out of a parking spot and come over to where you're standing or something. I think that's a design. But if you really want the real deal, which isn't, I guess, yet available, but I guess it will be, is the $15,000 upgrade in the car for a total autonomous driving vehicle. But I'm not into Tesla that heavy to really get into great depth to explain all that, meaning is that going to be available soon or later? But the point is, Elon Musk's business model, and I talked about this the other day, is his belief is that he can give these cars away with not much profit margins, but they're going to get their monies through subscriptions. So Elon's business model, his debt model for his portfolio and presentation to his investors is, hey, look, I know you may be nervous about me starting to discount our vehicles, but the real goal is we're going to get some of these Teslas out in the marketplace, and we're going to create subscription services that are going to reward the company financially. So in the long term, maybe we didn't make our $2,800 profit off the Tesla of the initial sale of it, but long term, we're going to make far more than that long term. I mean, that's kind of the debt position that they're sharing, I guess. I mean, it makes sense, but a lot of skeptics say, the BYD skeptics, Build Your Dream, I was talking about this yesterday, they just don't think it's realistic that you're going to have a really you're going to have an autonomous driving vehicle anytime soon. And keep in mind, I have the Blue Cruise vehicle with Ford, and these open highways, there are just, areas where you get that self-driving capability, but there's so many areas that it doesn't. I mean, so there's so many times when I drive that Ford Lightning truck that the vehicle has the Blue Cruise on, then it turns off. And it goes on a lot. And then yesterday, the kid was freaking out with me because we went into this turn, and that thing did not handle that turn. This was on the highway, 3-lane highway, and sincerely, if there was a person in that middle lane, I was left-hand lane, and as I was going through this turn, that Ford Lightning truck, it literally went like a third out of the lane into that other lane. There's no car there, and I always have my hand on the wheel. So if there had been a car there, I would have overtaken the vehicle myself. Not to do that, because my daughter's freaking out as we drive through that corner. That vehicle totally walks out of its lane. So it's I have these vehicles. I drive these vehicles. It's a pipe dream to think that you really can go let your car drive you everywhere in today's environment, and especially at the pace that people drive their cars. More than ever, people are driving so fast. It's crazy. I mean, it is crazy. People are so fast off the line, going down the highway. Posted speed limit 70, they're doing 90. Posted speed limit 55, everybody's doing 70, 80. I mean, there's no way. The people's impatience. And then, as I was talking about the other day, is, people's awareness, people's eyes. Yesterday, I witnessed it all day yesterday. You drive around and you see people just constantly fiddling with their gadgets as they're driving down the road, and you can see what they're doing because their vehicles walk and they slow down, they speed up. It's very, very maddening, aggravating. You sit at the light and the person in front of you doesn't take off. Everybody knows these stories. But now, so the debt, so here's the thing. For us consumers, we're now indebted to these cars more so than ever in modern times, because the cars with the inflation have gone through the roof. They've gone through the roof, and that's, I guess, what I'm trying to relate here this morning with Ford and Tesla. How is Ford? This I did this morning. Once again, I did my research. I went to cars.com. I looked up in a 100-mile radius how many Ford Mach-E Mustangs are in the marketplace. And I saw 172. I swear, here a few weeks ago, I saw like 162. Then a lot of used ones out there as well. Then I looked at the Ford F-150 truck, and it was like, I think, 62. And I think a few weeks ago, it was like 62. So, to me, it's very intriguing what is really going on in the electric vehicle market, meaning you hear Ford, Jim Farley, and you hear the analysts always talking about they can't build these cars fast enough, and there's disruptions in ordering and supply and blah, blah, blah. But yet, at the moment, what Tesla has begun the discounting pricing, I mean, sincerely, would you go buy a Ford Mustang Mach-E for $72,000 when you could buy the Tesla Y and not do the passing assist? It's still going to have the self-driving capability, but just not the lane change for $56,000. I mean, that's huge monies. And the Ford dealers, I've been told by so many people, there's no margins in those cars. So they don't have the capability. And Ford has not announced the huge discounts and rebates on these cars yet. Now, the new tax guidelines clarify finally that if you have a Mustang Mach-E, you get a $7,500 credit. You have a Ford Lightning, you get a $7,500 credit as long as it doesn't go over like an $88,000 threshold. So the Tesla Model Y though gets like a $3,750 tax credit, I think. The only reason I would guess that is because of the material components coming from China. So my guess would be that the Tesla Y doesn't have enough more domestic or dedicated, like say, countries or origins of product being built for a car. Because on Tesla's website, it says like $3,750 tax credit versus $7,500. So I'd have to take the assumptions that the only reason you can't get that tax credit like you can on the Mach-E is because all the components aren't in the guidelines, the new Inflation Reduction Act, which is just the Green Deal Act. Is anybody? I mean, it's really interesting. Today, kind of changed a little bit of the subject here. Joe Manchin's being called a dunce because he was the key guy that was stalling the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, last, November it was, or whatever, I guess whatever time frame it was. And he finally bent and he finally signed off to give his party the powers to be to bring that bill to the table and be signed into legislation. Well, now he's crying the blues in his own backyard state that's a coal mining state that this Inflation Reduction Act is really not a great idea because it's just the Green New Deal. And what I think is so interesting, it's always the masters. We so live in society, and it's been going on for thousands of years. It's mankind that figures out how to, I call it masters of deception. That, like I was saying yesterday, it's your eyes. You think you see one thing, but you hear something else. So, for me, for Joe Manchin, this guy definitely he fell in his own gambit of the industry he's in as a politician, of masters of deception in so many ways that we have political figures that do this. But here's the thing. We now have AOC and Markey, or Marley, whatever those Democratic senators out of Massachusetts, all wanting to promote a new Green Deal. And I'm thinking to myself the other day, I talked about this last week, we already have a new Green Deal. The Inflation Reduction Act truly is the new Green Deal. It's just worded differently. That's all it is. But here's the kicker. To mislead people and not let them focus on what the IRA really is, now they want to start another bill of legislation to make up, in their eyes, what really didn't get passed through the IRA deal, and they want to create another supplement to the Green Deal. But they'll present themselves as if IRA really isn't really the new Green Deal. And people will buy into this when we all know that this total subsidizing the whole electric vehicle, battery, charging station, manufacturing, it's infinite of what's going on with this monies of debts. And that's the thing. Once again, I thought to myself this morning, the debts that we are seeing in the governing bodies of our country are through the roof. And now here we know that we have Kevin McCarthy, and the Republican Party arguing with the Joe Biden party about what's going to be the debt ceiling limit, which that's all going to go back and forth and round and play the game, and then the government's going to shut down. At the last second, they all smile and shake hands, and it all works out, right? I mean, have we seen this story how many times? That, everybody's going to be, all the government employees are going to be furloughed, business is going to stop, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. Okay, sure, right. Yeah. How long that lasts? Yeah, the government shuts down. Yeah, right. Yeah, the only time it did happen, believe it or not, it was like 98. The government shut down for like 2 weeks. Anybody remember that? January of 1998. I think that's what it was. I could be wrong, but it was about that time frame. So for us, as I was walking in my office this morning, I was just sharing with you, just for me as an individual, look at the amount of debt that I hold. Yeah, and I'm crazy. I mean, I know that. I am crazy. But at the same time, I'm not a young guy, and I'm not a guy, I won't be a person in my own business for my whole life that can have the opportunity to have these type of fun in my life. And that's the thing. I'm enjoying a lot of things at my prime of my life, and I'm having a lot of fun. But is it forever? There's no way. Just like these two GT500 Mustangs. Those vehicles, I didn't own them. They're financed. So that was $200,000, over $200,000 of debts that I had to pay on a monthly basis. That's huge money. And so I came to closure on getting the Ford Bronco back, that the GT500 Heritage Edition, my true thoughts were, last year I paid $121,000 for that car. It was a $114,000 car. I got it for $7,000 over. But my real thoughts were, by this spring or summer, I could probably get conservative $140 for it, hoping maybe to get $150, $200 for it. I think $200 maybe if it was really not any others out there per se. But I rolled the dice, and wow, no, that vehicle is on my own. Could I get $130 for it? Maybe. $125, maybe. Could I get $140? Well, Kuhn's Showing Ford right now has, if you go to their website, they have my car. They have like 2 or 3 of them. Kuhn's Walter Ford has one of them. My exact same car, and they're at the 130, 140K package, depending how it was, built. And, painted stripes, vinyl stripes, rear back seat, no back seat. And they're not moving. But at the same time, we're just coming out of winter months, but the market's kind of softened up. So that's why, and then my base Mustang GT, which I bought back, how crazy, I bought that back, but I just really came to closure that both those cars have way too much debt, and it's time to move on because there's no money there for me to make any money off of. Even though GT500 base that I have, that would be kind of cool to really keep, but it's just too much debt. It's too much money. And now I've got a Dark Horse Mustang on order that I think probably will fulfill my happiness and my fun time for like $66,000 instead of like $100,000. So I just think, it's time to move on. And my main concern is if the GT350 shows up in 2025 and that thing's a 650 horsepower car, and it's a badass fast car, that GT500 of mine just will continue to kind of have just a lull of no big value. And then I shared with you last week my Dodge Charger, Red Eye. That car there, I paid $88,000 for that. The auctions were bringing 82, 86 for those cars last fall. Well, I don't know. I mean, I haven't done a lot of research on that, but that car there, I really felt that that's a buck 25, $125,000 car, maybe a buck 50. I think that's pushing it, but I think a buck 25 maybe once the heyday of the cars being built by Mopar comes to an end. It's all debatable. And then the Gold Rush Challenger, yeah, I think that car. I mean, I think that car will bring me 125 grand, very conservative. Will it bring 150? I don't know. That's probably the challenge of that is to keep those cars. Is it's a good year off of paying debt on cars. That a year from now, does the market kind of get healthy for those, and then I do get money out of them? But at the same time, if I play my cards right and I manage my finances right, do I even part with them? That's all in our ballgame. So the whole point is, for me, huge debt, and at some point I have to raise my hand and say, you know what, I've had my day, and it's time to move on. And that's what I've done most of my life. And at some point, do I really shed a lot of debt? Yeah. Eventually I have to cross the bridge and said I had my day, and the fun time's over, and it's all about the future and getting prepared for a different lifestyle. So, but at the same time, look at the debt that these cars are requiring more than ever. And I think that you have to save for the Mustang Mach-E electric vehicle and the Ford Lightning. I think a lot of people are stepping back and saying it's just a lot of debt to carry to supposedly save some money on gas. And we've run the numbers, and we talked about it a gazillion times on my channel, that in the end, you're not going to be ahead buying the electric vehicle per se if you already have a nice vehicle that gets respectable mileage and you don't have a huge debt on the payment of the car. Because if you buy a $88,000 Ford F-150 Lightning truck, 190 grand, just to work on it to save gas, but you can find a nice used one for 50 grand, 60 grand, there's a $30,000, $40,000 swing in difference in price. And and once again, for what? You're going to burn up $30,000, $40,000 in fuel in the next few years? Yeah, no way. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, anyways, I was just this morning what popped in my head was that the automotive industry, I'm just always very intrigued with Elon Musk and Tesla on how it only has $5 billion in debt. Yet Ford has $134 billion in debt. Go look at Carvana. Carvana, you have to wonder, Carvana is shady. The Garcia, father and son, Garcia third, Garcia the second. I kind of read a little bit into them and the drive time. So that Carvana organization is really like three different companies. You have Carvana, Drive Time, and Bridgecrest, which I had that Bridgecrest loans with those Toyota 4Runner and that Challenger, and huge interest, huge, but they present themselves as being friendly interest loans. Yeah, right. And so anyways, now a whole conversation is people are suing the Garcia family because they're saying that it's a shady operation because Carvana uses Drive Time to basically buy cars and clean them all up, and Carvana then pays Drive Time for these cars, and they end up paying more for them. But the money, the Carvana's bank account is transferring money to Garcia's other bank account, where if they paid 20 grand for a car, now Drive Time, by the time they cleaned it all up and get it ready for sale and blah blah blah, they sell it to them for 23 grand. So the Garcia takes 23 grand out of the Carvana account and enriches the Drive Time account by $3,000 or more, and then they show it as basically a sale from the Drive Time, but then Carvana turns around that car and then makes another sale by selling it to you for 25 grand or whatever it may be, or even if that, I have no idea. And they show that as a sale. So people are challenging that Carvana is duping their numbers on their own internal buying powers of their own cars and using those as numbers to show as sales. And at the same time, they're enriching their own selves and their family by paying this Drive Time over, rated fees for little or nothing that was done with the car besides picked up at a person's house and cleaned up and then sold to Carvana, then to put out in the marketplace. Isn't that an interesting thing? And Carvana is now trying to do it like a bond or stock trade with investors, and people aren't buying it because they're so heavily indebted that people just can't see how Carvana is going to continue on. But even though Carvana had a $360 stock at one time, and I think it's still, I don't even know what the stock is, but the stock is still not a penny stock. And for everybody's prediction that they would be done last fall, it didn't happen. So they're still hanging on, even though the most recent data is showing that, yeah, the car market is definitely slowing down in this country. That dealers are starting to show a pullback of people buying cars. The number one thing they feel is driving is these higher interest rates. But I think, yeah, but it's the price of these cars. They're so expensive. And we're not seeing anybody here yet see the huge discounts at car dealerships. I haven't seen it. The business model that they're still working off of is the pandemic business model of keeping high margins and low volume. I don't know. I'm not in that industry. You get so many different views on what's going on, and I'm no fool to business. Car dealerships are not going to tell you that they're struggling, because then it opens up them being weak. And then you try to take advantage of that by trying to beat them up in the price of their cars. So number one, I can guarantee you, discussion and meetings is to salespeople is you do not talk about us being slow. You know, it's borderline termination. And, you know, management, you do not talk about the dealership being slow. It just gives the consumer the upper hand to try to negotiate a better deal. And you do not talk about it. They tell you how you're doing. You say, we're doing fine. Things are good. Yeah, right. All right, everybody. Hey, appreciate you watching my channel. And as always, thanks for support. And I'm slammed. I am slammed to the max of doing things. So sometimes you see me disappear. It's because I am like you. I've got to take care of lots of things. But it's every now and then something just pops up that, like, wow, how did this all play out, right? Looky here, right? Hey, thanks for watching. God bless. Stay safe and stay tuned. Have a great day.